G'day and welcome back. As you can see, I just picked this up from the workshop. I've had this sitting out there for over 12 months. I haven't looked at it for ages, but it intrigued me. It's so unusual. I really wanted to have a go at it, so I've been champing at the bit. It's got two dials, I'll explain that in a minute. A load of knobs here, and there's a roller dial up here. I seem to think it's called a Teasmade, but I don't think it is called a Teasmade. It's something else. And these two dials, that is tuning, I think. It's very hard to see, and that's a clock. And I believe this was one of the first radios that you could set the time for the radio to come on. That's what I've been told. Maybe it only applies to mantle radios, but that's what I think I learned somewhere. This is the tuning dial, and it looks really nice. Not that you can really see it, but once this glass is cleaned up, it'll look good. Not sure what that black spot is there, but nice and colourful. I've got an idea this has the Australian radio station numbers on it. We'll have to wait till we get it out of the cabinet before I can really see it, but I can see numbers and letters in there. Same deal with the clock dial, got a very nice looking face on it. Between the two dials there's a couple of rotary knobs. That one says time, that one says volume, and it's got a brand name there, Goblin. So that's the volume control. It seems to have gone back into the cabinet a bit. Oh, that's moving the clock there. So I assume that's the alarm set, but it says time. There's four knobs across the bottom. That one's the wave change switch, medium wave, short wave 1 and 2. And then there's tuning, tone. These decals will need to be redone. There's off, radio. I can't read that. Oh, it might be auto. Yeah, it'll be for the clock position to turn the radio on. I'll spin it around. We'll have a look at the business end. Ooh, this looks like fun. Bit of paper in there. And a cord. It's missing the back by the look of it. There's some cleats over here to screw the back onto. There's a knob over there for the clock. It's for setting the time. It says hand. Oh, hand set. Set the hands. Okay. There's a transformer up the front, 6V6 output valve and some rectifier. There's another 3 valves at the end, so 5 valves set. The mixer's at the back. That looks like the IF amp, and looks like the detector might be over this side. Just peeking around the side, the speaker is an electrodynamic. And it looks like it's just slid in there. I think that just slides straight out. It does too. Very cool. Little plate on the back says British Vacuum Cleaner and Engineering Company Limited. In Leatherhead, Surrey. There you go. Oh, there's the model number, Type CR. We'll have a look at these bits of paper that were in the back. That's not it. Very similar, it's not it. There it is. Goblin Time Spot. Model CR. Yeah, I had Teasmade in my brain. So that's it there. Yeah, vacuum cleaner company, clock. Can switch the set on and off at preset times. When launched in 47, it was £24. So, Goblin model Time Spot receiver. Nice set, made 57. Clock radio with an alarm feature. The design is attractive. Wow. Between the dial, 2 thumb wheels, the left one being to set the time, the right the volume. The volume level can be observed numerically through the small round window. That's that black spot in the dial there. Off radio and auto, alarm on. Frequency long wave. Yeah, so this is the English version, and I've got an Aussie version because it had 2 short waves. They've given away the long wave. Enough of the history lesson. I'll take it out of the case. We'll see what it looks like. I've taken it out of the cabinet. It was so dirty inside, I took the cabinet outside and removed it out there. It looks pretty clean. It's not too bad. I was very disappointed to see this dial. It's absolutely filthy. The clock one's fine, but this one here's, I don't know what it's got on it. I think that's rust. Yeah, it might come off. I hope I can do it without taking the numbers off. Here's the decal sheet on the front, or decal if you're an American, and it's just made of cardboard. It's a sheet of cardboard, brown cardboard with writing on it. So I'll be able to reproduce that okay. I'll turn it around so I can look at the back. I've spun it around. There's the back, which we saw earlier. The speaker's hardwired. On the top of the magnet of the speaker, it's got a sticker here, and I think it said Plessey at one point, and they've glued it over the top of the original speaker with the Plessey brand. Here's a close-up of the speaker. There's the field coil, and it has the humbucker coil wound on the outside I've seen videos with it like that, but I haven't had a radio with that, set up that way. There's a wire come off here. I'll solder that back on. Here's the 3 valves on the left side of the set, and I did get these confused before. I saw this valve and it appeared to have the lead coming off the capacitor here, but it doesn't. I didn't see this wire here. It's sucked down below. That's coming off the capacitor. So I said that was the mixer. This is the mixer. That's the IF amplifier, and this is the detector, which is the normal run that they use. And there's the volume control right next to the detector. So that all makes sense now. Here's the 2 rotary controls. That's the alarm set, and that one's the volume. Yeah, so they're pretty big wheels there. I didn't think they'd be that big. Here are the numbers that show in the window for the volume control. They'll need to be reproduced again. Looks pretty easy though. There's the clock. That'll be an episode by itself, I think. I'll flip it over. We'll have a quick look underneath. Here's the bottom of the chassis. I've got the camera sideways, so it probably looks a bit weird. I'll have a closer look. Here's the transformer end. A couple of really big mica capacitors. I assume they're mica. That's the on-off and selector switch from on-off and auto. There's an odd-looking capacitor here. It looks like a bipolar electrolytic. I don't know what that is. Looks like it's the bypass capacitor actually for the output valve, and that would be its resistor. This is about the center of the chassis. Big filter capacitor. It's got a field coil, so you would think it would only need very small capacitors, but physically that's very large. Tone control. There's the output transformer. This is the RF and IF section here. Another one of those bipolar looking electrolytics. So you'll have to see what that's about. Not much else here. Some paper caps left in here. Down the bottom we have the coils. There should be 6. There'll be 3 oscillators, 3 antenna trimmers, or they're probably padders actually. Well, I'm not sure. They're trimmers. There's another one there. It blocks out any extraneous frequencies that are around about the IF frequency of the set. I buzzed out the transformer. Everything's okay there. There's no shorts to ground or anything. It's got continuity. I also decided to replace the coupling capacitor. So here it is here. I've put a new one in so I don't damage the output valve. I've connected my multimeter to the B+ going either in or out of the field coil. At least we can monitor, see what it's doing. That's the power switch. I've got that on. Volume. Oh, I'm not sure which is which. I assume, yeah, that's low volume because it's got a 0 in there if you can see it. So I'll just put it on a little bit. I've got 240 volts roughly there. It's on dim bulb. Put some power on. Oh, the globes work. Globe's behaving itself, the dim bulb. It's been on for about a minute. The dim bulb's come up. We're a bit low on voltage. I don't think it'll work at that voltage. 33 watts. It's not doing too bad. You're not hearing anything at all. Actually, I'm not hearing anything at all. What do we got for B+? Yeah, 169. So they've got B+. They have changed my meter to the other side of the field coil. I don't know which is in and which is out. So we are getting B+. So the field coil is working. The voltage has come up a little bit. Alright, well, once again it's been on for a little while. This voltage seems to be coming up as the capacitor reforms, I guess. We're not getting any sound. I can't see any glow in these things. I've turned the lights off and I can just see a glow in there, so it is glowing. The globes come up again, still 195, but I'm not hearing anything. So yeah, I'm going to do a bit more investigation than just putting power on it. And as a big surprise, the clock's not working. Here's the base of the 6V6 output valve. There's the little locator nib. Pin 1, 2, 3 is the plate. And we've got 102. So that means the output transformer's intact. And this is the screen. 106. The next one I think is the grid. That should be 0. Yeah, it's 0. So I think it just hasn't got enough power to run. I'll leave power on it for about 10 minutes and let this capacitor reform a bit, and then I'll put it on full power. This has been on for quite a while now. It's come up to 200 volts. The wattage is about the same, but the voltage has come up. So it was down to 186, I think. So I will go to full power. I think it will work. I can't see any smoke. The volume's up, isn't it? Let's try tuning it. Oh, actually, there it is. It's working. all the way through. So we should be able to tune something. Oh, I hear something there. Should be the footy on up here somewhere.
Lindsay, can I ask you as well, just with Nathan Cleary, I know he hasn't been around and hasn't been playing, but how much of a role does he play with you boys at training? Like, is he out in the field a heap with you guys as well, and sort of talking to the halves, and what's his role there at the moment?
Yeah, the volume's got to be right up to hear something, but oh, the light works.
Sort of get himself back
how do you turn
his rehab program, but he's definitely
I can't remember how to turn it down. Okay, so it is working. I thought it would. I won't leave it on full power for long. I'll turn it off actually. So it is working, so everything's intact, the tubes all work. So all that's left to do now is go through and change all the usual components, the capacitors, check some resistors. So this is the actual radio itself is going to be pretty easy. I'm really keen to get into this clock. I want to see if this works, or I can make it work. Actually, I'll see if I can get that clock out now. I'm really keen to see if I can get this working. I love working on these things. Having said that, I've only done one or two, but it was good fun. So I'll pull that out now. Just trying to work out how this is held in. It's just got solid wires there. It's got 3 wires, which is odd for a clock, I would have thought. First thing I've got to do is get this time adjust shaft off here. It's frozen on. I sprayed it with some... no, it's loose now. I sprayed it with some penetrant, and that's done the job, it looks like. There's a bit of old rubber here. Let's see if I can get that off, and that might come off, I think. No? Oh, it screws off. Ah, there you go. It looks like there's 2 screws in there, and there they are. I'll see if I can get these hands off, and then I can take that faceplate off and get to the screws a bit easier. Oh, they don't want to come off. The hands are really rusted on, so I'll see if I can... Oh, there it goes. There we go. I think I just bent that hand off. Oh man. I'll go back to using this. Oop, can't get that one out. Alright. If anyone watching is good at repairing clocks, look away now. That should come off. Okay. There's the 2 screws holding it all together. Actually, I don't need to take them off. I can just undo those 3 there. I can take the lamp off. I'll have to get underneath and unsolder the wires, I suppose. There's the 3 wires there. The reason they got 3 is one's a grounding wire. So there's 2 actives and a grounding wire. I'll have to do a little mud map of the wiring here. I'll take all this off. I'll turn it over. We'll take the screws out on the top. Alright, I've got the wires out. So the clock's ready to come out. If I undo these screws here, I think it should come away. That hasn't come away. I just remember there's a brace at the back. So there's a brace down to the chassis there. If I undo this, I assume it's got a captive nut on the back. If I undo the one down the bottom there, it may have a loose nut on it. Alright. Yeah, it turns out I can't get it out without removing that stay. So hopefully this will turn. Oh yeah, it seems to be. Might be a self-tapping screw, I think. Yeah. Alright, we should be able to get it out now. There it is. Now this cover is going to come off to reveal the inner workings. Yeah, I'm just having a look around. There's a switch there that operates the radio. So there's the red and yellow wires that turn the radio on or off. And of course you need a ground because we're going to have one active going to the motor, and then it's going to have a return path. So that'll be that one. There's the motor in there. I should buzz out these wires here and see if there is continuity. There's the 2 terminals there. Let's see. Doesn't work. It's open circuit. My worst fears have been realised. I'll take the motor out. We'll make sure it's right. I'll just put a mark here. I don't think it'll go any other way but one way, but I'll just put a mark there. I think I can take these 3 screws out without the whole thing falling apart. I'll need a smaller screwdriver. I'll try this one. This one's a bit bigger. Could be bigger again. That's alright. Ooh. There's the back bearing there, or the rear bearing. It's very gummy. I'll have to unsolder that. So there's the coil. It's putting up a struggle. Oh, there it goes. It's just glued itself in a bit, I think. Yeah. I've got the meter here. This will definitely be open. Yeah. Yeah, open. I'll see if I can peel it back. The chances are that it's... Whoops, I just put the screwdriver through. The chances are it's failed inside. I think I just ruined it anyway. Anyway, doesn't matter. It was going to be no good. I need to work out what thickness the wire is, and then yeah, look, all the wires coming out. Wow, it's fine. Ooh. Oh, look at it. I'll try and measure the wire that's in the coil at the moment, and it's about 0.07 millimeters. I do have another bit of wire I used previously, and that's pretty thin. I'll see where that comes up. So that's about 0.04 millimeters. That's getting close to half the diameter. I might have to go and order some, I think. I managed to order some more wire. It's going to take a few weeks to get here. I'll put this in a box, put it aside, and I'll start working on the radio itself. Seeing the clock isn't going to progress, I'll start pulling some parts off this chassis. I'll just give it a quick clean up. The first thing I'll do is take out all the valves. I'll also remove these two plates. The volume control. I need to manufacture a new bobbin for the dial cord here, so I'm going to take the dial cord off. Underneath I'm going to remove this capacitor. Here's the tuning coil bobbin. I'll take that out. I think it's broken. That'll do for the chassis. I'll take it outside later. I might have to take a few other things off, but I'll take it outside and clean it up in a minute. Here's the filter capacitor. It's, let's see, it's 16 by 8 microfarad. It's 450 volts, and it was made in December 47, so the same year as the radio, so it's probably the original capacitor. The volume control has this strip of numbers on it, so I can reprint that. That's easy enough. This is the shaft for the tuning. The string goes around there and the knob goes on the end here. I thought it was broken, but it seems to be made that way. This is brass. I thought it was a plastic or something, and it had snapped off, but it's got a little peg there, and it comes around and hits the, well, this bobbin thing, and then you can tune. Then it does half a turn before you can go the other way. So you've got a half a turn of knob of hysteresis before you can go back to where you were. I don't understand it. I'll have to see if I can find some more information. I'll take the chassis out to the workshop. I'll clean it all up, treat some of the rust that's on there. I think that's all I need to do. I'm not going to get too concerned about this one. It has a back on the radio. You can't see it anyway. So I'll just clean it up as best I can. Then I'll come back and we'll see how well I did. I have the chassis out in the garage, and I've used a solvent and a scourer to try and clean off the dirt. For the rust spots, I treated them with some phosphoric acid and a wire brush. And to clean it all off, I thought I'd try out the new steam cleaner, which worked pretty well actually. It got into spots that I couldn't get with a brush. Then I dried the whole thing with some compressed air. I tried to remove the cover off the transformer, and I was going to blast it in the media blaster, but it wouldn't budge. It stuck on tight. So I ended up cleaning it in situ, and now that I could read the voltages on the top, I moved the little selector over to the 240 volt position. Where I'd removed the rust, I painted it over with some rust guard type clear enamel paint. So that should hopefully stop the rust coming back. I restuffed the capacitor. I've done it so many times I don't show the detail anymore, but as usual I just grind the top off, pull the stuffings out, and this one didn't want to come out in one piece, so I took it out piece by piece. I did try heating it, and it made no difference. I couldn't get it out. Anyway, eventually I got it all cleaned out. As usual, I've printed up a couple of capacitor holders. I've got a gap in there. I can shrink them down, get them past this lip here, and then they expand back into the case. Once it's inside the can, I can push the capacitor in, and the gaps around the edges here let any gas escape if it ever lets go. So I'll push the first capacitor holder in, and there it goes. I have a little wooden wedge in there to hold that tight and open up the gap while I insert the first capacitor. I'll take the wedge out, and then I can push the whole thing down. Then I put in the second holder. This is like assembling a ship in a bottle. It's way over the top. Once again, put the wedge in, and I just push the holder down there to hold it. Remove the wedge. There we go. And then it's all tight in there. I also printed a sealing end for the capacitor. I've drilled 3 holes through it, and I'll use hollow rivets to attach these little solder tabs. The hollow rivets let me poke the wires through, and then the little end cap fits on here, and I'll solder those onto the tabs. And then of course just roll the edge around again on a couple of pieces of wood in the vise. And there's the finished product. That looks pretty good. It's very secure, doesn't rattle, and I'll write on here, restuffed by Dave 2024, something like that, just so the next person knows. Here's this tuning shaft again, and I've cleaned it up and I've worked out how it works. So what it is a coarse and fine adjustment built into one. So this one's the coarse adjustment. You run it up against the pulley there, and you can rotate it and select stations quickly. When you get close, you can back off a little bit, and I guess there's like a sun and planetary gears in there using ball bearings, and you can fine tune it. You can just see the pulley moving there very, very slightly. So that's for fine tuning. So it's very clever. It's very rough when I'm using it, so the bearings in there have either rusted or they've got bits of grease stuck in there or dirt. I'll take this clip off the end here and see if I can dismantle it. This will have a spring behind there to push on the little bearings, so I've got to be careful. I'm trying to hold it together. I'll take it out of the vise. It didn't spring apart, which I thought it might do. It doesn't come apart at all. Oh, there it goes. It doesn't look too bad in there. I thought maybe it had some rust or something in. I'll just clean that up and clean this up. And there has to be a spring in there, surely. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'll see if I can get the spring out. There it is. So I think it just needs cleaning up and it'll be fine. Yeah, it's just dirty. Alright, I'll go and wash all this and come back and we'll put it back together. I've cleaned everything up. It's just a matter of putting it all back together. I've got the spring going in there. I guess that's what I'll do first. Then it has a little cap on it. So that sits in the end of the spring. Right. If I put a dab of grease on each bearing, it should stay there. So if I put that in there like that, it should sit on those bearings. And if I put the shaft through, it should let me push the bearings in. There it is. Nice. It's still a bit rough, but it's not bad actually. Alright, well that's it. Let's put this ring back on the end. I'll cue the sprung sound effect. Nope, we're okay. I've just fitted a knob on the end there for a minute. The pulley here has a ramp each end of travel and there's a peg in the shaft. When the shaft is pushed in, it disconnects that little drive mechanism, the ball bearings, and makes it easier to turn. So when you go into like coarse tuning mode, I suppose, it runs up the ramp, disconnects that mechanism in there and removes the drag that would be inherent with that mechanism engaged. So I'm assuming there's enough drag from the tuning mechanism to make this run up the ramp. So there it is, very interesting little mechanism, all in that nice little package. I have the chassis here on the bench again, and I'm just sort of trying to clean up little bits that I've missed. This volume control, when I was out there, I couldn't turn it. I could try to turn the shaft with my fingers and I couldn't. I sprayed a bit of WD-40 in there when I was out there and that kind of freed it up a bit. I've just dropped some oil in there and I sprayed the inside here with some fader and it's good. It feels very nice now. There's another potentiometer on the front. That's the tone control, and that is very stiff as well. So sitting out in a garage or shed or wherever it's been for the last 20 or 30 years hasn't done it any good at all. I'll flip this up on its back and I'll drop some oil in those. I've got some light oil. I'll put that around this tone switch, and also the this is the on-off auto switch. I'll also put a bit around the wave selector there. I've left them soak for a couple of minutes. You can feel that go straight in. Very good. Tone. Yeah, that's not bad either. And now the wave switch, that feels pretty good. I'll spray some fader in the back of the tone control here, and I'll spray some deoxide on these, the wafer switches in the bottom here. They're feeling better now. Yeah, that's good. I also noticed the first IF can here is loose, and this fitting here has failed in some way. The top here has a rubber coated wire, so I might change that anyway. It's pretty flexible still, but yeah, I'll change it anyway. I'll remove the screws from the top. They go into the coil. Then I'll turn the radio over and we should be able to undo the nuts on the bottom. I flipped it over. There's one of the nuts. I can undo that. That one's wound out of the aluminium case for the IF. So this might do the same. I didn't think they worked that way. Well, it's come loose, so I should be able to get it out. I have to push the wire in here. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut that wire. Now with that can removed, I can clean up these capacitors as well. It looks like these lengths of thread should screw in there, and then you would tighten the nut up, and that would leave you with a stud. The one on this side though has pulled through, so yeah, it's not gripping. I need to perhaps try and reshape that or something so it'll grip again. I'll put it back together. I squashed down each side with a pair of pliers along the side there, and I've got a nut screwed on. It's jammed onto another nut, and hopefully it'll pick up and I can get the thread in. There we go. It's quite possible they insert that and then stamp around it. I'm not sure how they do it. Anyway, that should have sorted that. It's very solid now. I'll make up a new lead and solder it on. That's easy enough. I'll pull these apart probably and just clean up the top and bottom of them, make sure it's all clean inside, and then they'll adjust properly when I need to do the IF alignment. I might even take this one off and I'll clean those capacitors as well. I've refitted that IF transformer and I put a new lead on it. I pulled this one off too and cleaned up in there. I didn't dismantle those two trimmers in there. They were too hard to do. I just cleaned them up a bit and put the covers back on. Before I head back underneath the chassis, I'll change this capacitor. I'll check that resistor while it's disconnected. It's brown, black, blue, so it's 10 meg. And it's got, what is that, 15.89? Goodness me. Alright, I better change that as well. I've wrapped the new components in, just a matter of soldering it in. That's finished. It was a bit hard to work in there. It was hard to get in there. Anyway, it's all done. I've flipped the chassis over. I'm going to change the capacitors and check the resistors. There's a capacitor down there, one there, and this one here, I really don't know what that is. It looks electrolytic. The drawing says it's just a normal paper capacitor. I'll also check the resistors as I go. After the last one they checked and it was 50% out. I'm not too confident with these ones. I'm going to do all that off camera. I will take this one out and I'll show you and we'll work out what it is. I've replaced the capacitors here and here, one down here, there's one up here and there's one over there. This is the coupling capacitor I tacked in earlier and I've put that in properly now. This 33k resistor here isn't on the schematic. It's in parallel with a bypass capacitor off the screen grid and it goes to ground. It's not on the schematic, but I found another photo online and the resistor's there. So I can only assume it was a production modification, but I'll leave it the way it is. This odd capacitor that was over here and I wasn't sure what it was about. This is just a paper capacitor in some sort of, I think it's aluminium, I guess, shield. Yeah, so I'm not sure if it's just shielded. It's not grounded. I have no idea what it is. I've replaced it with a poly cap. There's only a few things left to do underneath. One of them is to refit this capacitor. I've written restuffed on the side there, and I've orientated the tabs at the end there so the text is readable from the bottom. I'll tighten up the little clamp on the bottom, and I also need to refit the wires on the tabs here, so I'll do that and I'll come back. I've soldered the wires on. I ran a ground wire back to here. It's near the transformer, so that should be a good spot for it. I think the video's run about 30 minutes. That's probably enough. In the next video, I'm going to do a restring. The speaker needs to be done. I also have the wire for the clock, so I'm going to rewind the coil. I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I hope you can join me next time for my next radio adventure.